Die Mike's auch, right?
Oh, Christ.
I don't think I may have crazy than you are. I'm extreme, dark, and light. Ma'am. That's your shadow on the wall. No? Can't get rid of your shadow, can you? Oh, you know, the only thing that kills a demon, love. That's why I know that Mallory's my salvation. She was teaching me how to love. It was just like being in the Garden of Eden.
Only love can kill the demon. Hold that thought. Really worth it.
Was what worth?
Was massacring all those people worth being separated from your love for the rest of your life?
You mean, was an instant of my purity worth a lifetime of your lies, Wayne?
Please explain to me, where's the purity that you couldn't live without in the 52 people who are no longer on this planet because they met you and Mallory? What's so f***ing pure about that? How do you do it?
You'll never understand, Wayne. You and me, we're not even the same species. I used to be you, then I evolved. From where you're standing, you're a man. From where I'm standing, you're an ape. You're not even an ape, you're a media person.
Shut
saw you standing there with a lounge suit and dirty blue eyes. Watching from all about when I saw you standing there, and I wanted you to erase all the kinds of this and that for one moment in time. And I said, oh baby, please give all this thought-in hinges to all this delivering moment of truth, and snowballs flew all around us like old satin heaven waiting caresses. And I never knew that this moment would be eternal. For one still, one day, I seen you cry. I said maybe, myself baby. I said maybe, myself baby. I said maybe, myself baby.
Mighty the mighty. So, maybe we should start. Maybe people over there, come closer, please.
Don't be
please.
disturbed by the cameras. They're just there. If you'd stand there and listen,
Please,
you can
people,
sit
come
here and
closer.
listen.
You can sit here.
Is it bad English already?
Okay. I think they don't come closer.
Come closer.
Closer! People, come closer!
Or go far away
Please.
and chat somewhere else.
Or talk somewhere else.
Yes.
So I begin. So, a very warm welcome, everybody, guests, artists, participants. I'm very glad to open the first late night talk right here at our cozy little Wohnzimmer.
Living room situation.
People over there, please talk somewhere else or come to us.
Or someone close the door, please.
Okay. We wait a little more. So, good evening again. I start again. My name is Sahar Rahimi and here is Philipp Schulte, and we are your hosts for tonight and the following nights for the late night talks and also the walk and talk series that is during the day. So the idea of this late night talk was to speak with the artists, but not explicitly speak about the pieces, but speak about topics that they bring up, that interest them, that could be something very like informal, could be something very theoretically, could be something that is just on their mind or in the news. And we are very happy to begin this talk tonight with Oliver Zahn and Julian Warner.
Just performed. Good evening.
Just
Thanks for
performed.
joining.
Hauptaktion. Warm applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And we asked you to suggest a topic, and you brought a very good topic. I even brought a trailer. Tonight we will talk about, for 15 to 20 minutes, about a current Hollywood movie. It's called Black Panther, and the topic is...
Who have seen it?
Black Panther
Who have
a
seen
minstrel show?
this movie, Black Panther?
Don't worry, we will talk about
Don't worry.
The plot later. Before we start, we show you, let's see if I can do that, we show you a trailer, so you know a little bit about the aesthetics and visuals of that movie.
I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up. Let's go.
We are home. My son, it is your time.
Show me my respect and bow down.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be. Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
The revolution will not be televised.
Show me my respect and bow down. We own ya. We own ya. We only getting started now. Cause we own ya. Everybody think they know me now. Cause we own ya. You and I'm a homie now. Cause we own ya.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all.
What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
Wakanda forever!
The revolution will not be televised.
Let's have some fun.
The revolution will be live.
The soundtrack, by the way, is from Kendrick Lamar. And I think the soundtrack is great. Just
Okay, the trailer doesn't really help when we talk about the movie. You see the images and the pictures, but what is the plot? Let's start a little bit explaining to a lot of people here who haven't seen it what it is about. It is about an utopian African country, goes by the name of Wakanda. And it's
not existing.
Not existing, but
reality.
existing in the Marvel universe of comic worlds. I have a map I'll show you later. And in this Wakanda, they're looking like a really poor African country, but they're actually really, really rich. Why are they so powerful and rich? It's about a metal called vibranium. Do you remember? Can you take over? I will look for the map, yeah.
No, you. Also, why are they so powerful? And well, they mine this metal and they produce. It's a metal that stems from outer space, from an asteroid that landed there thousands of years ago, and and they produce like all these high-tech gadgets from this metal. And so basically, the plot is that this empire, this kingdom has been hiding there, like totally high technology kingdom, hiding there for the last 1,000 years or so, and hasn't been part of like modern history because they choose not to take part in the idle struggles of colonialism and imperialism. Yeah.
And at the same time, it's kind of an utopian, as I said, country, because it's the African country that never was colonized, seemingly, handled to defend itself, and that was never enslaved, I think. They're really something that does not exist in the world, but a really perfect state of fictitious development of such a country. I think we also should introduce the two main characters of the plot. It's T'Challa, who is the new king of Wakanda, and on the other hand we have the antagonist, which is a Killmonger, who is actually born and raised in the United States of America. So we have two kind of black archetypes here who are fighting each other. Can we talk a little bit more about what they represent? What kind of black experience is represented by those two characters?
Okay. Killmonger, on the one hand, represents the stereotypical black African ghetto subject that is, that grows up in poverty, that has a father who was what was he? The king's brother or something? Yeah. Who was the king's brother, and who was sent into the LA ghetto, into some Compton or whatever, as a spy, and then decided that they needed to rise up, and decided that he then became what the film kind of like plays with. He became like the black insurgent. And Killmonger grows up there, so he's like he's experienced alienation, he's experienced racism, structural racism and poverty, and so he has a big hatred in his heart. And then on the other hand, then there's King, what is it called, T'Challa? T'Challa, who, well, although he's aristocracy here, I'd say he represents a kind of cosmopolitan, bourgeois black subject.
Noble African, kind of.
The noble African, but also like he represents an African blackness that has a history. And I think this is like really like a very important aspect, that if we think about blackness and we think about Africa as the continent that was fuck, what's the word? That was deprived of a history. Yeah, that if you think of Hegel, who speaks of Africa as like this timeless place, yeah, that has no history, has no progress. So he and Wakanda, T'Challa and Wakanda, it even rhymes. They are representatives of this great African history that has, that was a secret up till now, and now we get to know it. Yeah.
And so we have these two guys fighting each other. I mean, we can spare you the details of the plot. The one who is really a very good person, who wants to, who never suffered, and who's all not, he's really not into class fight or race fight or conflict or anything. And the other one who wants to take over, the power of that country in order to bring this powerful vibranium to the black masses in order to fight for the rights. This is my interpretation of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even say, like, in the sense of to bring it to the darker nations, to bring it to what once was called the Third World, so that they can all be liberated, yeah, and they can all be insurgents in a global fight against imperialism, which in this case is represented by whiteness, European, West American.
Now, I think it's important to know that we're not talking about some movie here, but about a movie that was highly reflected in journals and newspapers all over the world as the new black empowerment movie. Huh?
Yeah, it was, on the one hand, it was praised. I know of the premiere in Joburg, where the people dressed like in the movie, and they really made a festival. They made like a celebration for this movie as the movie of empowerment. And I know that on the African continent, it was like the best-selling hero movie, like superhero movie of all time. I read this. Could be.
Yeah, and even in, I mean, like if you think of Berlin, like the association Otto, Each One Teach One, which is like a youth social working association in Wedding, they invited 120 black youths to go to watch the movie, and they saw it as like an empowerment tool, yeah, to give these children powerful black subjects that they could relate to, that so that they could get like a positive identification within their blackness.
But now, having said that, you gave us this question: is Black Panther a minstrel show? Maybe it's just me, but it sounds a little bit critical.
Yeah. I mean, it's a provocation for sure. And this is also where kind of the piece that we perform tonight comes in.
Yeah, can we kind of close the door or something? It's too loud, actually, in here. It's complicated. It's a complicated door, but it would really be helpful for us.
Yeah, because the piece that we presented here at Tanzplattform deals with cultural appropriation and with the historical and contemporary practice of the minstrel show. And so our provocation was kind of, and the discourse that we kind of wanted to start also with the audience is how, like, because of the hype that surrounds the movie, how does this movie, Black Panther, relate to the various aspects of what was the minstrel show?
I mean, everyone who knows about your research and also your artistry knows what the minstrel show is, but maybe it's also a good moment to, at least in a few sentences, define minstrel show. It's a traditional form of spectacle, of theater. Yeah, you know it much better than me. It's,
So, the historical minstrel show is where blackface comes from. So, it's basically the first originally US-American form of theater. And it's a format that developed in the 19th century, mostly in the North. New York was a big center. And it had sort of like its heyday between 1830 and 1850. And then it has had like various sort of resurgences after the Civil War with the birth of cinema and in various incarnations up until the 60s. Like there was like a BBC minstrel show in the 70s still. And so the most obvious kind of defining characteristic of the minstrel show is the blackface mask. But that's not actually what we're interested in for our research.
But we rather think about the minstrel show in the sense, and we're not the first people to think of it in that sense. There's this great book by Eric Lott called Love and Theft. And Eric Lott is a social historian who, his question was, why is there no interracial working class in the US? And he then went back to the minstrel show to think about the way in which the minstrel show as what we could call like a state apparatus, like what maybe in Germany are the Stadt- und Staatstheater, yeah? How they kind of produced subjecthoods that people could relate to or people would be then alienated as. Yeah? So if you think of it as the minstrel show as something where migrants coming from Sicily, from Ireland, from Germany could go into and then watch a stereotypical representation of black people and then feel white, yeah? The creation of whiteness, to feel white in Abgrenzung,
yeah, looking at the stupid
in opposition to the black stereotype, yeah, and then become white Americans, yeah, and this basically, I mean, Eric Lott argues that this, in the U.S. context, led to the division of the labor force, yeah, and the labor movement, and a split, yeah. So basically, it's Teilen und Herrschen.
But is it true that there was not only like whites doing blackface in minstrel shows, but also blacks doing like being actors in minstrel shows? Yeah. So you have like blacks depicting stereotypical blacks.
And that's kind of where sort of the movie comes in again, because the minstrel show is like a very complex phenomenon. And one of the things that it was as well is like it started out as white people being painted black to portray black people. And then with time it became a genre, I would say, of theater where black people performed the stereotypes of themselves that white people had created for them. Now that's obviously problematic, but in theater there's also always the space for negotiation, and so the minstrel show
and subversion.
And so the minstrel show is also historically the first place where you could see black bodies on a stage, and this is where like a lot of the early, for example, the early jazz legends kind of made their way through the minstrel show onto a stage where they could present something that they had devised themselves. And so in this cultural significance of portraying black bodies and the impact that the minstrel show had, this is kind of where we're sort of like docking here.
So I guess you said in the movie, I don't know if you have seen it together, or
no.
But you saw it independently, and there was kind of a feeling of uncomfort, I guess, bringing you to that question. So now knowing what the minstrel show is or was, I mean, it's not about blackfacing when we talk about that movie, but it's about, yeah, what kind of, what is the feeling you had? Is it about the stereotypical figures we have here, like in every superhero movie? What is this uncomfort you were?
Well, I'll just start and then, yeah. I mean, firstly, I'd say like I have no issue with this movie. Yeah? Like I think that like these cultural productions, they can be read in many ways. But the point where I then feel like uncomfortable is the discourse surrounding the movie. Yeah? And when like if I open the papers and then the set is telling me that this is like a landmark in like the representation of black people, that's the moment where I'm like, okay, so something's wrong here. Yeah. So, and I'd say that what is problematic is that this movie, I mean, it's being labeled as this Afrofuturistic movie. Yeah.
What is Afrofuturism?
Yeah, this would be a talk a long talk on its own, but what the people that are calling it Afrofuturistic, what they're getting at is like, oh, it's Africans and they have high technology and they're using it, and it has a kind of utopian element to it. I'd say Afrofuturism is much more than that. Afrofuturism is post-humanistic. Afrofuturism has nothing to do with a utopia. I think it's even closer to a dystopia. Yeah? Like, but that would be like a total different discussion. But what we see here is how different black subjecthoods are brought into positioning and are delineated from each other. Yeah, and I think like in this, I mean, you've got it on screen now. Yeah, this opposition of Killmonger on the if it's my right, it's your right.
You have on the left side the utopian African Wakanda fighter, King T'Challa, and on the right side you have Killmonger, grown up in New York ghetto and really is up for the fight and wants to
and this
kick ass.
Yeah, and this in a sense is like a stereotypical stereotypical representation of the opposition of Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. And I mean, like, this whole idea that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were like on opposite ends of the same struggle is in itself a very problematic view of history. And then how the film deals with it, that basically Killmonger wants to kill them all, and
name a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And T'Challa, who then is like a forgiving and a wise ruler, who would then like land his, and here we are again with Afrofuturism, would land his UFOs in the Compton ghetto, buy a building, a derelict building, and then turn it into this social housing project where then his sister would be like the first social worker who would teach these kids all about the technologies of Wakanda. I mean, this in itself is like, I mean, I'm feeling like goosebumps just thinking of it. But this just shows what is a minstrel show. A minstrel show is a tool through which subjecthoods are created and assigned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd say here it's all about incorporating a global black bourgeoisie into the global cosmopolitan fold, giving Africa a history. Yeah? Killmonger has no history. Yeah? Killmonger is kulturlos. Yeah? Like when Thilo Sarrazin in Germany talks of the people living in Neukölln, this is what we need to think about when we're thinking about Killmonger. Yeah? He has no culture in the film. Yeah? and T'Challa then, he has culture, he has art, he has wisdom. Yeah?
And he's very, very rich.
And he's very
bourgeois, yeah.
But still, I was like, I thought, still, I find it kind of, yeah, important, or imagine myself, or imagine a black boy going to the cinema and saying, wow, this action hero looks like me. It could be me. It is still some quality that is, I think we should have it, like, say, okay, that is something that the mainstream movie, yeah, it should also have heroes like this. Like, just for myself, when I think as a child, I would have loved to have heroes that look like me. It was always like the blonde, blah, blah, tall women that I never would be, like She-Ra or something like this. And it's like, this is something that kind of touches me. I liked it about that.
But also, to be sure, like, we're not sort of kind of just taking a stab at the movie and kind of arguing that all of this does not like factor into it.
Not valuable, yeah.
Yeah, we're just kind of, I mean, I think we're interested in kind of playing the role of the naysayer, I guess, of someone who kind of goes against the big discourse, which is also because, I mean, the moment where I was kind of like, the same way when you read about it in Süddeutsche Zeitung was when I read about it like on Breitbart News, and they had like a very positive review of the movie, because obviously they picked out like the isolationism, the mining, and all of that, you know. So there's like this whole Trumpist reading of the film as well, right? And I think like this is, for example, this is one of the moments where it can kind of where it doesn't take a clear enough stance as well, so that it can kind of be read in a completely opposite way.
And of course, if I just may add, like of course, it just like historical minstrel shows, it contains jokes that are not for you, but that are for me. Yeah, yeah, and they're not for you. Maybe they're for you. Yeah, and this is like, I mean, this is, I mean, we're going back to Stuart Hall's 70s, yeah, and thinking about like how different subjects read cultural productions, yeah, in different ways, yeah, like, and so all this I would agree with, yeah, but again, we have the scene in our performance where black people, black dancers from San Francisco are dancing in Leipzig in 1907, and they're performing the Schuhplattler, and basically they're making fun of Bavarians in front of an audience in Saxony, yeah. But at the same time, they cannot, like, of course, this is a joke, this is humorous, this is satire, maybe parody, yeah, and they have agency in that moment. But at the same time, they're unable to leave the broader racial structure of the Weimar Republic of that time, yeah? And they cannot change what the white journalist will write, or not even write, but see when he sees them do the Schuhplattler, yeah?
I think regarding to the film, I can add to the list without also being the one who judges the movie. I can't. I'm not in the position to do that. But what struck me was that it is a movie that is, I mean, it's a Marvel movie, and Marvel means Disney, huh? And Disney means Hollywood. It is a movie that is deeply not political. On the level of the plot. That is no surprise, but it's really anti-political. And I think it it has something to do with the notion of utopia here. Because the moment when you have utopia, you don't need to think about race and class fights anymore at all, because they have this extraterrestrial metal in order to save the world. They're just using it not rightly. In the end, they do, because, as you said already, they're kind of giving it as a gift to humanity, not only the black people, but also the white people, in order to make everything better. So we have the one Killmonger who really lives in a world without utopia, having heard of utopia, trying to get that for the reality. But, and this is why Marx and Engels were all against utopia, this whole fact that Wakanda exists makes the whole real struggles and problems of the world kind of funny and not important anymore. Because who has to fight if we had a metal that would save the world and kind of help us to be happy?
Yeah, and just to go back to the minstrel show, yeah, the plantation scenes in the minstrel show, yeah, they're depicting a southern utopia. A southern utopia where white workers can go, in New York, they can go into a theater and watch black slaves, enslaved black people on the southern plantations, and they're happy. They're happy working there on the plantations, yeah. And this is also, and this utopia, works in a very similar way. Yeah.
I mean, me as a white spectator, I can be happy watching that movie because I'm not endangered at all. Because they're all here to help me. Because they're so nice. This is kind of the very
Killmonger!
We're much too long talking. Thank you very much, Oliver Zahn and Julian Warner, for talking to us.
Determined to take it, to tear it down, like an anthem of this town. Determined to take it, to tear it down, like in every little line. Sometimes my arms bend back, sometimes my memory lacks, sometimes I'm dying here, but deep inside a rage is perfectly violent. Sometimes my arms bend back, sometimes my memory lacks, sometimes I'm dying here, but deep inside a rage is perfectly violent. And I watch it, hallucinating, just like a last is still slipping slightly. When I'm down to reset everything in one rush, and I watch it, hallucinating, just like a last is still slipping slightly. When I'm down to reset everything in one, you are a winding serpent drown, to drown, but I know we never seen you coming down for a ride. Ever, ever, ever rock you down. You wanted a temple to hear it and never get us to a shining in here. I ever get down to a lighter and near here. I never, never, never shine. Dana, you wanted a temple to hear it and never get us to a shining in here. I ever get down to a lighter and near it. I never, never, never shining down. to take it, to tear it down, like an anthem of this town. Determined to take it, to tear it down, like in every little lie that I have found. Perfection lies deep in your blue eyes, and I never would ever run or right. Imperfection lies deep in your blue eyes, and I never would ever run.
Mighty, the mighty. So when we rehearsed this talk format this afternoon, it was really quiet outside. So we had our first talk now with Oliver and Julian, and we learned, okay, it's not quiet outside, but I think we found a solution now to make it more quiet here. Thank you very much for your patience. And now we're going into the second round, and I'm very happy to introduce you to three members of the Tanzplattform 2018 jury. And this is Scarlet, you, dancer and choreographer. This is Leonie Otto, research assistant at Frankfurt University and also specialist in dance. And Elisabeth Nehring, dance expert in so many ways, journalist, critic, dramaturg. I read it in the internet, it must be true. Thanks for you joining us tonight for a short talk about your work, actually, because we decided to talk about jury work in your case, because this is something we have to talk about. It is a festival where things are selected by you. And yeah, we tried in the preparation, we didn't have so much time to find kind of a frame for this talk, and we kind of struggled with that. So just a few minutes before, yeah, there were some suggestions we will come to later, but maybe we start with the first question, curating, no, being in a jury, what is it not? So let's find words, metaphors, or actions that is not being in a jury. For me, I would say, first thing that's not being in a jury, and the first thing is judging. Sitting there as a judge and saying you are allowed and you're not to. Yeah. You have to speak into the microphones, by the way, because of everything.
So like you say, we really struggle because we think of like 15 minutes and talk about the jury work. Wow, okay, because these two fabulous colleagues have been going around and give like talk, really like spend an hour to really try to convey the methodology, how we come to even the methodology and how the work we've been chosen. And so, yeah, so it was hard to give a theme, and it was also very generous of you both to say anything. So we also thought of like talking about pregnancy or like gardening.
Yeah, we have some metaphors from the world of gardening and pregnancy, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it's quite, I don't know how you guys feel, like those are sitting here, what interests you to really sit here. Honestly, 15 minutes, we're not going to unfold the whole complexity of the jury process of selection. But maybe it will be interesting to think about, like you say, like, what is it again? What is a jury is not?
What is the jury not? Or if you prefer to
answer. What is a jury not?
If you prefer, yeah. what did you not like about being a jury?
Well, liking is extremely problematic in this kind of like position.
Yeah.
Like, how do you phrase it? What is a jury not? I would like to throw it on the floor too. Like, if you think of something. Because I think it would be quite interesting to think of this tonight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it okay to start like the sentence of like, what is a jury is not? Or is it not correct? Like English, like how do you... A jury is not, Okay, great, thank you. So we can start like this. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Philipp?
A jury is not judging. It's not saying black and white. It can't be, because art is art. There's no better or worse art, or is it? First sentence. We have more people to ask, so please. So,
A jury is not apolitical.
It's not what?
Apolitical. A jury is not without politics.
it's not without politics.
A jury is not instrumentalized.
What about Geschmack? What is Geschmack and
Taste.
Taste. Is it inside or is it outside of taste?
Oh, you have to use the.
It's with and without. It's both. It would not be true to say it has nothing to do with a personal taste, but that's not everything, that's for sure.
But you cannot really leave it totally outside, I would say.
But it's not about imposing your own taste or your opinion to other people, so it's more about an exchange.
So tell us a little bit more about the process now in a positive way, if you prefer that.
I mean, thank you. I really like what you say.
No,
but if you touch on taste or liking, I think we have to extend this. But that's also what the mechanism of jury protect, because it's a combination of people and come from hopefully like we are have with a desire of like very different aspect of interest. I would think it more like an interest than taste and liking, but then because then it goes back to the first what the jury is not, which is judging. Like for me, it's really not this moment of this is good and bad. Like you're not allowing, you shall never allow yourself to do this. Like whether or not as a jury, but as a jury, you have a level of responsibility to really look through the things in a wider perspective with the colleagues together as a combination, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Did you fight a lot during the talks?
I think we confront each other a lot.
How many people were you all together in the jury? How often did you meet? Did you sit in a room and talk and watch videos, or what did you do? Did you scout?
We were 8 people, I think, and 5 voices, but 8 people, and we met at the beginning around every second month, and then towards the end more often. And yeah, we confronted each other a lot, but somehow before we started, I thought actually that it would be more about fighting for something I want in the end. But actually, I would say it was not that. It was confronting each other with different opinions and perspectives on pieces, but it was all the time really discussing and also being quite open for other opinions and changing my own. Yeah.
I think when we move from the what it is not part to the what is it part, I think, I'm not sure, you have to correct me, I've never been to a jury. Is it about finding a concept together? So it's not about, I like this piece, I need to place this piece within the trans platform, but it is about those pieces would work well together for some reasons. And I think looking at the program, I have the idea that you found some reasons, like open the concept and idea of the body, questions of diversity and different ways of looking at dance or even ballet and stuff like that. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Did you find kind of a concept together or not?
At some point, this kind of, I remember we have this board to write down key words that we mention a lot. So what we do, actually part of it is that we often, when we met together, to not take for granted and continuously questioning the criteria. Because it's something that is really interesting. A criteria that is just very open, like every law, you can interpret in many different ways. And of course, what is passed down is very implicit territory of how you should interpret this law, which is a category. And I think we constantly, like, talking about it and rethinking about it, and not to use this as, like, not first as the perimeter to somehow, like, trap us. So the second thing is we do is, like, okay, so we decided to have this methodology that at least 2 to 3 of us present live in the performance that we will see together. So it takes a lot of effort because to organize the things together, and then we come together and really to discuss the work, every work that we have seen.
What would interest me also is how you discussed gender and identity politics in your decisions. Like, how did this play a role in saying this is in, this is out? Because, okay, I did not count how many women, how many people from different backgrounds and so, but I guess it should have been a big discussion. So how did you deal with that topic?
I think that was a question which came up in the end, in the very end. The main part of the process was more about the question of what means quality for us, why a specific piece has a specific quality, what are the criteria, how we can define it. I think we spent a lot of time with these questions. We had no agenda in advance, so we were not looking for specific pieces from specific fields. We tried to be very open. And in the very end, if it comes to, you have a long list, and then you have a short list, and another short list, and another one. And in the very end, we were thinking about how many men and women, and we were checking out where the pieces came from which parts, and but these were minor questions, I think, because we were not in the situation what we thought before. Maybe in the end we have 12 soli and duets, but it was not like this. So that was not playing a very big role, I think.
Yeah, but yes, but I will also say it's somehow it's a sensibility that you inherit in every jury. I think this kind of questions such as identity and gender, of course, it orientate you to see different things, right? Like, I would be curious to ask you, when you go to see a show, did you come with this filter to see, like when they talk about Black Panther, maybe when they go to the movie theater, they'd actually not without this filter. So I think, yeah, absolutely.
It's absolutely there all the time.
Yeah, it's
also, who is the author? Who is the writer of the piece? You can't put it aside nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think there was also a lot of discussions back and forth involved with this sensibility, like. But it's not so much like the marker of making a decision. That's what I think. Like, it's not like, oh, now makes it even, like now we have 5 men and 5 women, and they all should be 25, and not 5, like, oh, not too young and not too old, some young, some old. Like, I don't think we use this to somehow use it as a marker, yeah.
But somehow I would say as a topic it was present all the time, because also a lot of pieces we discussed deal with these topics. So somehow I would say it played a double role, kind of like questioning our own programs, towards the end, like could we accept this? Are we happy with this? What's missing, and so on. But from the beginning on, these topics of identity politics and gender and so on, we discussed them a lot, coming from the pieces we discussed.
Fair enough. Great. Is there a question?
Yeah.
Talk about Black Panthers in Brazil. This movie in Brazil was sehr good. Because in Brazil in this moment, es gibt eine strong movement, woman movement, black movement for these people want that everybody know about Brazilian story. So Brazilian story is different than the story that you learn in the school. Because you learn in the school about the story of the Portuguese, that was in Brazil, that was trying to go to the Indians' place, blah 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 blah. But you don't learn about Brazilian, about black people that come from Africa and that you was there, blah blah blah, and have influence of Deutsch is Befluss. Ich weiß nicht so. Influence of in the language. So this movie is so good for Brazil, Black Panthers, because this movie show for Brazilian people and many black Brazilian people know that this moment is a moment for you get power. For many people of YouTube and television, because in Brazil, I'm talking about Brazil in this moment. In Brazil, 54% black. So it's the big part, the people there. But you don't see these people in television. So Black Panther in Brazil was so good. Because many people from movement and the people alive in the cinema for see this movie. Yeah, Marvel maybe make all the move. But this movie in this moment was very good for the people.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is actually a very good moment for us because the two talks of the evening are linked together. Thank you for your comment to the first thing. This is a task for our cutter, actually, tomorrow to bring those two clips together in the right way. But thank you. I'm afraid when the music comes and interrupts us, you will kill me, Scarlet, because the 15 minutes are over. It's a really rough way too, but there the music is. So thank you very much, Scarlet, Leonie, and Elisabeth for your participation in the talks. Thank you.
You told me I see your eyes, but it always falls. I see you come, I see you go. You say all things pass into the night, and I say, oh no sir, the masters agree. I must say you're wrong, oh no sir, the masters agree. listen to me? You told me I've seen it all before. I've been there. I've seen my hopes and dreams lying on the ground. I've seen the sky just begin to fall. You said all things pass into the night, and I said, oh no sir, I must say you're wrong. I must disagree, oh no sir, I must say you're wrong. Oh, won't you listen to me? Goodbye horses, I'm flying over you. Goodbye horses, I'm flying over you. Goodbye horses, I'm flying over you. Goodbye horses, I'm flying, flying, flying over you. Ladies and gentlemen, good night and have nice dreams. This is Mighty the Mighty.